Hello, I am Hallow. I am the current, as of about 5 minutes ago, any percent world record holder in Beastieball, specifically on the Kichik route, but it seems to be, at the moment, the fastest one. It was on this file right here, which was a 44:15 in-game time. There's a little bit of extra there, which is time spent in character creation, I believe. It might also be real time. I'm not sure exactly what the files shows, but when it was at credits, it was 44:15, which is kind of wild, considering this game currently came out about 10 days ago. But either way, I'm going to walk you through the Kichik route. And let's just get right into it. We're gonna be able to go pretty slowly for most of the game, as there aren't many time-based events. Setting up your file, you're gonna want to be on fastest. Turning off autosave probably isn't a good idea, actually. I've just been doing that by habit because I've been doing a lot of testing. You're gonna want to disable explanations so that there are less cutscenes. Turn on the speedrun clock, so that'll show up in the top left. And turn off away teams. We don't want any online features and they just get in the way anyway. Turn on intro skip, so you skip the intro. None of the accessibility options are currently allowed on the leaderboards. There will probably be separate categories, sorry, victory option is not allowed on the leaderboards. The other ones are absolutely allowed. They don't affect gameplay at all. Victory option will probably have its own category at some point. It probably won't be a very commonly run category, simply because it removes the part of the game where you're actually doing the balling. And this is Beastieball, so we're going to do a lot of balling. Without further ado, let's get in. Just throw my name in there. I like the default taste, so we're just going to leave it at that. And get going. First thing you're going to want to do, skip cutscene maybe to load it a little faster. Oh yes, I should talk about that. You are going to want to have skip cutscene bound. That's in keyboard config right down at the bottom. I have it bound to a couple side buttons on my mouse that I've configured to deal with keys. Send keystrokes to stuff. That's just what's easiest for me. If you're on a controller, obviously, you're going to want to bind it to something on your controller. All sorts of options. You don't left click right at the start of the game or you will end up on the bench. But either way, just gonna sprint up here. I'm holding shift all the time. Skip cutscene, pick Kichik, get going. And immediately, we're gonna have to, answer a question, all that. Pretty self-explanatory as to how skipping cutscenes works. We can just send a basic hit into either of these here and then end defense. We automatically lose this point. It is scripted that we lose this point. We're then going to want to end defense again. Let Spreko come in, and Spreko is going to have to win this point because of the relationship system in the game, we are actually going to need besties or sweethearts, and that being the defense or the support move, in order to win a fight pretty soon. First thing to do, jump down, grab this shiny object right here. We're going to need that for money and training. Jump back up here. It's a little tricky. And straight up north out of Brutile. Talk to Reese. Try not to run into any of these wilds. It's not a huge deal if you do, I don't think, but you might be a little behind on... Actually, you might be very behind on experience, and it might mess up the relationship, so that's a bit of a reset point. We want to run into this Guardian, because we do need to run into something for Reese. Ideally, we see a Saprin here, or Kalarva. Shuga also works, but it will require us healing at some point. Either way, we can wipe this Saprin with Kichik, because Kichik is strong. So, we just bonk it. And get sponsored by the BRS. And now... don't left click once you're out of the fight, just head straight on up past Jasper. Don't want to talk to Reese again, obviously. Here you can just hold up right, you'll end up on this ramp. Up left, go through this gap. That is some spawnage right there. Those locations were certainly interesting. Straight up to the Beastieball Center in Jasper, skip the cutscene with Sports King, talk to Kaz, and accept the ranked match. Of course, we're going to need to head in, and right up to the locker room and immediately just mash skip cutscene and head right back down and out because we need to do Kaz's little fetch quest. First thing we're gonna do, fight Ida. You can do a basic hit into Boris here, make sure it's Boris. The Separate will lock and shield. We're gonna move Spreko forward. Boris will usually trick spin here. There is an occasional variation of this fight wherein Maris the Sephirin moves forward and uses beginner effort into Kichik, doing like 80 damage. But either way, it doesn't matter, as Maris on defense, we're just gonna volley, doesn't matter which volley you use. Maris on defense will move back to the back row in order to not get knocked out by basic hit. So we're then just going to be able to careful shot the front row regardless of what happens. I have not ever run into a situation where that doesn't happen. We don't learn lure shot, never going to need that. And now since we weakened Boris already, we can knock him out here. And that's Ida. If Spreko or Kichik, if Spreko should be on 55 health if we've had everything ideal here. If Spreko or Kichik has taken more damage than this, you're going to want to pop up to the rail house to heal. Other than that, we just go straight over to Caroline. Know something fun to do. It's not hiking, it's not sports ball, it's a game of culture, and any of these work. Straight up on to talk to Reese up here, answer the question, hit skip cutscene a whole bunch. You're going to get very used to hitting interact and then skip cutscene in that order. This fight goes exactly the same as Ida's did, but without the randomness. We're just going to do the same thing. Basic hit into Dusty, take the trick spin on Spreko in the front row, and then volley, careful shot. You might, to be fair, be able to send Kichik up into the front row and do that. Not something I've tried yet. I've just been going with what works at the moment because I've been going for PB. But either way, yep. Knee Bender now knocks out either of these. I've never seen Dusty switch out here, so you should be able to hit Dusty, but hitting Banjo is also safe because you can certainly knock Banjo out when you have Knee Bender. Straight onto here, and by the way, you can't skip that encounter. If you do, you will end up with partners. This spawn is in a little bit of an annoying place sometimes. If it's right to the left of the minecart, you can usually jump over it, but either way, we want to avoid it. Here's our first guardian. We're gonna skip. You're gonna need to skip cutscene and just forfeit and do the movement again. You can, if you're really optimal about it, jump over some guardians. We're going to head up to this exit right now because we need an exercise video. Don't hold down right here or you won't make the jump over it. You want to hold just right and then just left to get back over. And now going here, we can jump and snipe that switch, skip the cutscene of the rail, and this Millimine or whatever spawns here is often also in an irritating spot. We don't talk to Jean yet at all. Heal at the camp. You're going to need to heal. You want your Spreko to be on full HP for the Jack fight that'll be coming up. Hit that switch if you want safety, and perhaps especially if you don't get quite as much money, there's an electrolytes right there, which is good to pick up. Next up, jump back over here, go around. These spawns are sometimes in some awful locations, but you can just jump up and hit that lever from there. Next up is minecart skip. Don't sprint through that, it's a lot easier. We also have a smoothie here, which is pretty free to pick up, so no reason not to. Head up here. You can toss the rope down if you're not confident in your ability to make the jump in this room. But either way, as long as you're heading straight up there, and then don't, like, accidentally run off the ledge here. Kichik just walked on air. That was sick. Then it's fine. This Rodillo, you can skip without jumping over it. You're going to sort of want to go to the left and then run into the right wall. That's the easiest way I find. Craig will call here, so hit C or whatever button it is you have to answer the phone, and then skip the cutscene. We want this sparkling object for a bunch of money later, and now we're going to go into the first Jack grind. We can use whatever move into Lioness here, and then just end defense. On my mouse and keyboard setup, it's easiest to skip levels by hitting both space and left click at the same time. Don't learn flex, don't learn breaker. Kichik will always get wiped out here, and Spreko will always be that. Also, we see the Besties cutscene there. We get Air Jack, which is always fun. Doesn't really mean anything. But either way, just sending some free balls into Jack here. And getting some more levels. Also getting left air jack, which I've figured out recently. We have the defense combo right now. I do need to go over these fights very detailed once we get to the actual fight that we want to win, because there is a couple deviations based on which combo you have. That'll show up again in mostly just, I think... I'm not even sure how many fights we use combos in anymore. There's a chance you'll need it on Riven in the Crown series, and you usually want it on God. That being Shloom. Either way, Shield goes over Call Out there, Shove goes over Quick Breath, as we never need those moves. This will be the last fight of the grind. And now, most important part of the run, don't prevent Kichik from evolving under any circumstances for obvious reasons. If you accidentally learned moves on the wrong slots, you will need to fix those, just because we do use all of the moves that Kichik and Spreko currently have in this fight, if I recall. Actually, Spreko won't shield, so it doesn't matter if you didn't learn shield yet. But either way, left jack is actually nice. You get it by like jumping before while you're sort of walking into his trigger. That means that you will automatically get challenged to a rematch, so you don't have to interact with him again. It saves, you know, like a couple frames here and there, which is lovely. So, how to win this fight? First thing we are going to do is always knee bender into Lioness. We're just going to want to weaken Lioness up. There is no defense here in either of the routes. So here, Ostracite takes a bunch of damage. If you have the support move, if you have the support combo, which is rarer than the defense one, I can't remember exactly what the odds Greg said there, what the odds Greg said were, but if you have the support move, what you're going to do is use it here. You're going to volley, not net rush to Spreko, and you will careful shot into Lioness in the back row. However, if you have the defense move, like I do on this file, and you're going to want to write all this down. I'm just going to rewind because I need to do that. Actually, no, I don't. You're going to want to volley refresh to heal Ostracite and hit knee bender into Lioness again. Make sure that whatever you do, Ostracite is in the back row here. You can now use the defense combo with either team member, doesn't matter which. Ostracite will get attacked. We just need them to be healed enough to take this pep shot, which has been boosted, I think, like, yeah, it's at +3 by the time it hits us. So now we are going to net rush and refresh, and shove here will always knock out Sabretooth. Even if I didn't gain the boost on Ostracite, it will always knock out Sabretooth through a block. So we knock out Sabretooth there. Very important, as Manticore in the back will always be able to kill Ostracite with a pep shot from the front row. Now, if you have the support move, it will look like your knee bender into Lioness won't kill, but that's because Sabretooth is still on the field and their friendship trait is active. Once Sabretooth switches out for Manticore, then you will deal enough damage to knock Lioness out. Either way, here we're on the defense route, so knocking out Lioness is easy. And that's Jack 1. And without further ado, let's go into Begonia. Immediately what we're going to do is go pick up the 1 super athletic spray by making that jump, which I just did first try, making it a lot easier than it actually is. And just sprint all the way around here. fall down. You do want to not be like too high up, or you actually have to move down a bit before you can just run off the edge. Right back up to Begonia. Ignore everything here. We don't need to do any of this yet. Head in here. Avoid the Guardian there. Do your best to make sure you're not hitting any of the encounters here. And then grab that ball shroom, come up here, hit that switch. We're gonna go grab the campsite that is up here. Obviously, talk to Celia and skip that cutscene, which I did very quickly. Typical movement around here. You can, if you're sprinting, do a little like clip past that tree. I don't know if it really saves time or not. Sometimes you fall off if you're not exactly precise about it, but either way, we're just gonna walk up to this campsite until we see the text box and warp back out to Begonia to save a little in-game time. This movement is always a little odd from the rail house. You may have to jump onto the tree and then just sort of walk over the route there behind the house. But either way, now we are heading on to Geo City. You can always avoid encounters by being sort of at the bottom of the screen. There will never be any that spawn this low. And then move back up once you're past the Marifly. Here, if you hit any of these encounters, and by the way, I haven't explained this yet, if you hit an encounter that you're not supposed to hit, just forfeit and leave, and you will actually have invincibility to ending up in another encounter for a bit. Let's try and demonstrate skipping this trap because it's possible. You can just sort of jump over it and hit the cutscene trigger. If you want to be safe on this screen where there are a whole lot of encounters, you can jump up here. If you don't want to be safe, you can run straight down the middle. It's a little messy sometimes, and sometimes there are encounters in the way here. This screen, also quite encounter heavy, but we get lucky there. Now you're going to want to move to the right a little bit, jump straight over that fence, and we're going to pick up an exercise video and head right on into mainframe. I like to sprint just up to here and then hit I to open my inventory, whatever button that is for you, short. We are now going to enter the super athletic spray period of the run. So I am going to be doing a lot of things very quickly. And do my best to explain them, but I will be at some point digitizing my notes so that people can read those and have them as a reference. But basically, we want this super athletic spray to last all the way through when we battle Surgus in a bit. There is a lot of stuff we need to do in between now and then, namely, first of all, the grind against Jack. That's the big reason we use the spray now. We need to do all of the setting up of both the Surgus quest, we need to set up Riven, we need to set up Sun Tzu, and we need to go to the gym and train. So there is a whole lot of stuff we need to do. If there may be a shot that you can somehow make this last to Bongus, I've never been very close. I've always been at least like 2 screens away. But that remains to be seen. Either way, let's get going. I believe also I can pause on the UI, like the menu screens for a sec, to try and help out with explaining stuff, and that shouldn't tick down the spray, I think. Not entirely sure, so I'm not gonna mess with it too much, but either way, let's use the spray, get out of the menu, and trigger the Jack fight. We can just free ball into Lioness here, and we are going to lose to Jack a lot. The important key milestones here is at level 28, Ostracai will learn Thump. That is a move we want to learn. All others we do not want to learn. Also, we got left Jack first try. That's lovely because it means it's a little easier for me to do my mashing techniques. But either way, level 28, Ostracai learns Thump. Level 32, Ostracai learns Shield. Level 35, Ostracai learns Launch. Sprecho does not learn anything we need during this time, so we will never have Sprecho learn a move. In the meantime, yeah, I unfortunately do have to go through all of this. So, in the meantime, Yeah, jumping to get left jack is nice. You will be locked in, but that doesn't matter because once we are done with the grind and Ostracai evolves into Castle Heat, we will beat Jack immediately, which is great. Also, I don't know why I do this, but I refer to Jack 1 with he, him pronouns, Jack 2 with they, them pronouns, and Jack 3 with she, her pronouns, which is always funny. I don't know why I started doing this, it's just happened. Jack is a being that truly transcends gender, and we love them for it. I'm not sure anyone actually uses pronouns in the game for Jack or not, which is probably part of why I'm never sure what to use, but either way. Level 26 there. Yeah, you're just gonna... I'm not sure if the athletic spray ticks down during those. I haven't, like, timed it or anything, like, when you're accepting the rematch. But I'm not exactly playing with it. Yeah, I mean, you're talking about the Mega Beast as a whole, Karma, so... little hard to tell. Either way. Trans rights and trans wrongs. So true. Thump at level 28 there. We are going to learn this over shove. I'm not quite sure if it matters if you learn it over the other options instead, because, like I said, we are replacing all of our moves on Ostracai here. Excuse me. But the AI sometimes does care about move order. So ideally, I haven't tried a run where the moves were not in that order yet, and I am used to the moves being in that order, so that's what I've stuck with. It's worth labbing out at some point. But either way, I like the moves in that order. Other orders, your mileage may vary, but whatever works for you should hopefully work. Yeah, don't learn Mark with Spreco, we don't need it. Yeah, there's one move during this grind that Spreco learns that we will need at one point in the run, that being Provoke, but you do not want Provoke yet. We only need it for Ribbon in the Crown series. And so we don't learn it yet because we need Shield and Refresh and what will eventually be Bring the Heat before then. Yeah, we need all of those for God specifically, so don't learn Provoke yet. Make sure you say no to any of the move learnings because you do lose like a couple seconds if a move learning window shows up if you hit yes. So here's Shield at 32. I like to learn this over Net Rush. The last few levels are kind of painfully slow here, but the bonus of doing this grind is that we just win. We finish this fight, and there are several damage rolls which are like just perfect enough for us to win. Specifically, I think the main one is Barnes's Zephyr. So currently, this is the route Maybe sometime in the future we'll figure out a route where you don't need to go all the way to Castle Elite during this grind. And I am very interested to see that day if it ever comes. But in the meantime, just all the way up to Castle Elite. Metamorphs are a great way to have a short break and like take a sip of water. I do recommend having water close by, especially if you're like doing any sort of commentary on your run, because this run is fast-paced and you have a lot of talking to do. Alright, we're gonna have a 3 or 4, I believe, more bouts with Jack here before we metamorph. And after this, I'll start explaining now. We're gonna immediately start going south towards Kichik Beach, or Kokeliko, as I've learned it's pronounced, I think. Launch over Knee Bender at level 35. Don't learn Numshot. We don't need it. Sometimes I hit shift and it messes up my clicking a little. That's fine. Alright, here's the last fight in the grind. And after this, we don't even need to heal Sprecko. We are just going to launch twice and win the fight, which is glorious. So we can launch into Lioness first. Doesn't really particularly matter as long as on the first or second turn you do launch into Sabretooth. Otherwise, one of these two, specifically Manticore, I think usually comes in and will survive your launch if you don't knock out Sabretooth. So either way, we are now going to head right down here through Rollback Loop. As per usual, if there's a beastie in your way, you can jump over it. Burblog is currently an unfinished area. Hopefully this won't be all that different. Try and skip that puncture. It's really tricky. But either way, we get past it there. Encounters on this screen can be a little annoying, but are usually pretty out of the way. Snipe that switch on the way. You can often bounce it off the fence, which is really classy. Skip this Leobro if you can. It's, again, very tricky. But there we go. And now we're going to want to get right down into this very corner and jump down, meaning we skip past the Guardian and pick up these Spa Salts so we can change the ability of Castle Elite. And now we're going to travel all the way back to Jean. If there are two Skibble in the front here, you always want to target the right one because the left one will shield. Otherwise, target whatever isn't a Skibble and you should win. On the first turn at least, and then target the Skibble that was angry if there was a Skibble that was angry. We don't need to heal here, we're just going to teleport right back to Kokeliko. You can heal here if you like. It takes like half a second, and then buy the boating license, and we're going to fight this pair. Deckard, I believe, has body ready, so I'm not sure if you can always knock him out, so I often go for the bottom row. Something I should probably check, but either way, we're doing things quick right now. Straight onto the boat, you can just hold down left here, There is occasionally a beastie right in the way like that Petula, so you need to be a little more careful with your maneuvering, but we're just going to go down left until we start seeing chartreuse in the bottom of the screen, in which case we just go straight down. We want this Guardian to not get caught on the dock. This is Gary. Gary's annoying because he's going to sting us here, which means we do have to take like an extra turn, irritatingly. We can just end our defense here, don't need to do anything. Because we do need to free ball. But then once Castellite's recovered, launch will kill either Adwaita or Arthur here. And we will immediately dock at Chartreuse. Head right on up, don't head straight to the right because that'll fall in the water. We're gonna go straight over to the Mermaid Club and talk to Sharon to get in. Go upstairs, hydrate, you know how this quest goes, splash it on your face, private area, and then we have to fight Sharon. You can launch into whatever the heck you like here. Top row technically saves like a very small amount of animation time, so that's probably the way to go. And then straight back over to the Mermaid Club. Try not to talk to those people if you're mashing too hard. Go upstairs twice. Choose whatever you like there, doesn't matter. Back downstairs again, hit the dance floor, and now just sort of mash skip cutscene and click on dance harder. And sometimes you can skip this cutscene if you do it perfectly, other times you can't. Not a huge issue. Once he's back out, skip the cutscene, and we are going to immediately go right up here to grab this sparkling object and teleport back to the boathouse. At which point we will set sail. We don't need to heal yet because we're going straight to Cerise Atoll. Answer that phone call from Riley. If you have any encounters, again, just forfeit and run away. Doesn't matter that you're drained. Land here. Head straight on over to the campsite. And rest here. Jump up there and fight the Guardian here. We can, again, launch into whoever. We are way too overleveled for this, which is very intentional because it just makes the game quick. Get level 37 there. Talk to the Tort Anchor. Teleport to the Rail House in Kokeliko. Come talk to Walter. Chat to get the quest item, and then teleport to South Kokeliko, run to the left to get in your boat again, and just head mostly right, just like sort of tapping down, I like to do, and you should end up within range of the dock for barrel. It has a pretty big hitbox, so like there works. And we are going to just sort of drive by, pick up the item from Autumn here, head down the ramp so you don't get as much airtime, talk to Bilba, and then sell your sparkling object, your 2 shiny objects, and make sure here you have at least $300. Very important. You need $300 because we are going to be pumping all of it, that is $300, right into Castellite's body power here. So select Castellite, turn on the spa salts, hold right here, get to the bottom of the list, use the exercise videos, get back to the top of the list, begin training, hit yes, exit the gym, try not to re-enter it, and then we go right back out to talk to Riven, accept this ranked challenge, skip all the cutscenes. I'm usually mapping skip cutscene whenever something's happening, and then teleport back to the atoll. And then just talk, skip cutscene, and we head right into the circus room. Skip Reese's cutscene here. We want to make sure we're facing circus to get the serve. No need for a shield here. Circus isn't going to block us or anything, so they're actually kind of the easiest Guardian in that regard. Or Rowdy Beastie. Volley Refresh Thump after you've launched on the first turn. Then we are going to talk to the shrooms, skip some cutscenes, and let Spreco touch the shroom, as we want circus. Circus is going to learn a lot of plays here. We don't want any of them except for the last one, the 5th one, which is Bring the Heat, which we will learn over Careful Shot. We then can teleport immediately to Rutile. And we're just going to head west here. No need to heal. Bongus is also not difficult, and that's where we're going now. Just as per usual, if you're pretty low here, you shouldn't run into any spawns. Here we are going to obviously need to grab this ball shroom. You can stay to the left of this little stump here in order to stay out of the Guardian's radius here, and you need to get onto the stump, which I utterly failed at doing. It can lose a lot of time because obviously you can get warped back out of its radius. Some people like jumping from a little farther away from the stump, and either way, jump in sort of at the apex, do that, and then skip the cutscene, and immediately run right down, and the Platetta won't chase you. Athletic Spray wears off somewhere around here. Then, encounters are tricky to see here. You saw I ran into that Supasum there. Which means I lose a little bit of time. Try and look through the tree as best you can. Oh, and I spawned directly on a Guardian. That was weird. Hold up right here, and you'll be against the wall and always be able to skip that Dibgum. There will sometimes be an encounter right in that little path there. It's very rare. Either way, head up here, skip the cutscene with Reese, and we actually want Bongus to get the serve on us and end our defense, so make sure you are facing away from Bongus when the battle starts. Send Castley to the front, use Thump. Again, no defense necessary. Refresh, Thump, and Bongus goes down. Make sure to talk to the shrooms. And then we're heading right up to the campsite in the grove. We don't even need to heal here. Talk to Celia. Launch into the slot that isn't Jim, so it'll be Jeremy. And then Jared. Poor Reese was left waiting there for ages. And we do want the serve on Iligus, so run straight up. Again, the usual stuff. Launch. It may mark you. That doesn't matter. We then end our defense. Volley, refresh, and Thump will just get the KO here. It's fairly close, but we do get it. Again, talk to the shrooms. Teleport right over to Begonia. You don't even need to heal here. We're just going to do this little movement up here and get into the BRS. Talk to Reese. Make sure to talk to Celia again to get the Ranked Coach Challenge. And then head right on out to the Beastieball Stadium. There's sometimes a bit of a lag spike when you exit there. Hopefully that'll be fixed. But either way, nothing to do in here. Just straight up through the locker room and to our first ranked fight. Skip the cutscene, obviously, immediately when you get in. And we can just launch into Toadstool here 3 times in a row. Very convenient, because they're on the top row, and we just knock them out. Skip stuff, we immediately teleport down to Barrel, which should just be on the screen in your map if you've zoomed out a bunch. Head down here, accept the call from Riley. Jump down between those trees into the Beastieball Center. Remember, you don't need to talk to Bilba this time. And head on up. Again, we can just launch the top slot 3 times and win. Not very interesting. But since we are barely doing any fights from here on out, we basically need all of these levels for the Crown Series. So it is important to be overleveled at this point. Skip the Sports King cutscene, teleport up to Jasper. we're going to head around here because if you recall, we did not do the person on top of the roof. Marlon will give us a call there. These jumps are tricky. Kenta here, tell him you have something fun to do, and then head on down to the Beastieball scanner, answer whatever to the Sports King, skip the cutscene there, because Kaz is like, wow, look at all these people. And then head on down. Kaz's is going to be a little more complicated in that the Sephirin up here bolt will always shield, so you're going to want to launch into the bottom rope first, and then can go into the top rope from then on out. Alright. If you get here within enough time, it's probably going to be within an hour. Then you won't have to do that Barnes random fight because it's silly. I don't know if we need to heal for Sun Tzu. Okay, we don't, because whenever you beat a ranked coach, I believe you get healed. Maybe I healed at some point, but either way, straight up to the Beastieball Center, straight into the locker room, and all of these ranked coaches will be done within like 3.5 minutes. So what we're going to do here is we are actually going to launch into quarters as Pong is going to switch out into Boxer, who we can't knock out. But now we are going to shield... Actually, you don't even have to... No, you do have to shield Circus here. Because Boxer's going to use Feint and Set. Which will knock us out, but we actually just have enough to knock out Boxer here. Which is very important, because we don't want to deal any damage to the Ostracite here at all. Launch into quarters there. Yeah, Dunk has shield, which is annoying, basically. And we can't knock them out in the back row. And then just launch into the wipe slot, and we knock out the Waglash. And there we go, skip the Valerie cutscene, and teleport up to GeoCity, where we obviously run into Reese. Skip his cutscene. Straight into HQ, register for the Crown Series, skip that cutscene, and we are actually going to head on and get the warp point out here now. Be very careful here. Well, answer all your phone calls, first of all, but you don't want to get an encounter on this screen, because we've nearly started a, like, relationship evolving arc between our beasties. As soon as you get onto that screen, just teleport right back to the mainframe zip station. But we are starting a relationship arc, which is very important, as it will make the fight against Schloom easier. Here, Jeremy is going to switch out, as we can always knock him out. That means Jeff here is going to swap in, so we want to hit Jim. Hit shield on, I believe Circus gets hit here, maybe it's Castley. Yeah, okay, it's Circus here, because Jim and Jeff are in. That heal is quite useful. We then, of course, just volley and knock out the bottom slot with Thump, and then launch 3 points in a row. Nice and easy. And get a level up there. Not that it matters. Well, it does matter, but not yet. Either way, Jim was already weakened, so we knock him out there. And after that, warp to Rutile again to take on Jack 3. Head straight up onto the center as Riley will heal you before this fight starts. And this is the first instance, I believe. Is there any deviation? There is a slight deviation in this route, depending on whether the Beelb or the Bendiva comes out. So we are going to first launch into Sabretooth. The first point here is 100% consistent. We want to shield Castle Elite here, as we're going to get hit by Bring the Heat from Manticore. Again, skip all of Riley's cutscenes here, because there are a lot of them. Volley refresh. That is important. Thump into Sabretooth. And win that point. We're going to launch into Sabretooth now. Oh. Nope, so I've actually messed up. That's not great. I did have autosave on, so I am going to restart Beastieball real quick, and I'll... let's do that. The route for this fight I literally changed earlier this evening, which is the reason I've forgotten it. So give me a hot second. Autosave should be on. And hopefully once I launch Beastieball again, it'll pop back up in OBS. It may not. I may have to go in and do this. There we go. Yep. So we should, I believe, have been auto-saved when we entered the Beastieball Center, which is nice and good. Obviously, if you are doing an actual run and you want it to be on the speedrun.com leaderboards, you cannot save and quit at any time, as that will reset the in-game time. If you're doing a run for any other reason, like if you just want to see how fast you can do it, RTA, real-time attack, then save and quit all you want. Either way, let's do this again. So, I believe, and I will edit this out if I'm wrong again, launch into Sabertooth, the first point is the same. Shield Castle Elite. And then volley, refresh, thump into Sabertooth. We are now going to launch into Manticore. So here is where the route divides slightly. It is simply that if Ocelot, the Beald, comes in here, you are going to shield Surgus, as Surgus is going to get hit by a Thunder. If Bendiva comes in, you want to shield Castlete, as Castlete will be hit by a Tool. So Beald came in here. Very important to keep that in mind. Shield based on which one comes in. But either way, here we go. Surgus takes the attack. If Castlete takes the attack, obviously you volley refresh. But here we are just going to thump onto the right side and knock that out. And now Riley is going to swap in anyone on the bench, probably the Bendiva. And we're going to launch into Manticore and knock them out. So that is Jack 3. Again, just be careful. Obviously, if it's the Bendiva, you're going to shield the Castlete. Because Castlete does deal damage to itself with Overwork. If I haven't explained Overwork yet, I think it's been fairly self-explanatory. We're dealing a lot more damage in exchange for 10% of our health every turn. So with that, you can see our little relationship evolving there. You want to answer, you still want to play in the Crown series, and then skip the cutscene. And we're going to teleport right on over to Crown Stadium. Heal here, very important. We need to be healed up before the fight against Schloom. I skipped a cutscene while I went into the rail house, or the zip station, which meant that stuff happened. And I went in a few more times, talked to that guy and skipped this cutscene, skipped this cutscene, and we're going right back out to God. You cannot fast travel here, as there's a blackout. Skip the cutscene here. Take a safety save here if you like. I am just going to hit save just in case. I've done this fight a lot of times. The strategy hasn't changed much. But there's going to be... You can see here, Surgus and Castlete exchange glances as they step onto the field. Sparks are flying, and they get, very importantly... Or they should have gotten a power boost, but apparently they didn't. So that's going to go a little differently. Either way, the fight is pretty much the same either way. Surgus is going to get attacked here. It depends on whether you have the defense or the support option, honestly. Actually, it may be if you have the support option that you get the power boost, now that I think about it. But either way, we always shield Surgus here. We move Castlete forward and volley. And thump. Pretty simple. We are now still going to see Surgus attacked, so we're actually going to put Castlete in front of Surgus here to take this body type attack, which it can take very well. Move Surgus to the side, volley, and bring the heat. Here, if you have the support play, you're going to want to block Schloom, as that'll let Surgus take a hit better, and then we're going to use the support play on the next turn. With Castlete to boost their power. Otherwise, just use the defense combo with Castle Elite, and that'll heal the tiredness on Surgus. So we can now refresh. Again, if you have the support combo, you'll have blocked there, so Surgus will have taken some damage, and you're going to use it with Castle Elite, which will heal Surgus, but Castle Elite will still be at like 60-something HP. Which means that Shloom will actually potentially at some point later in the fight see a kill with Bring the Heat, so you may need to shield Castle Elite instead. Just if you have the support play, check the damage calcs. If Surgus, or if Castle Elite is ever below 60 health, I believe you're usually at like 54 in that instance or whatever, then you're going to want shield Castle Elite instead, because that'll be the higher HP KO. As Shloom won't be able to kill Surgus. But either way, hit refresh here, hit thump again, deal a whole bunch more damage now that we've boosted up a bit. Castle Elite's going to be tired again. As you can see, we have Rowdy up, so now is a great time to shield with Surgus. I believe at this point during the fight, Surgus will always take this attack because Castle Elite will still be at 60 HP in the support route. Either way, volley here, volley back because Castle Elite is tired, and Bring the Heat. Again, Surgus is angry, so we can't shield, so we're just going to move Castle Elite over to take this hit. Again, if Castle Elite is below 60, then Bring the Heat will knock out Castle Elite. Although I believe, yeah, if Surgus is at 64 or below, Surgus will get knocked out before Castle Elite. Or if Surgus is at like above 60 but below 64, then Surgus will get knocked out here. I don't think that ever happens. But either way, again, if you're the support route, Castle Elite will probably need to be shielded here. Otherwise, we're moving Castle Elite over to the side to take the hit from Surgus. If you mess up and move Castle Elite to the side on the support route, you will just lose the point and gain a little bit of extra experience, and then just be able to, I believe, shield Surgus on the next turn and still win. It'll be a little trickier because your boosts will be gone. But either way, Castle Elite is healthy now, so we're just going to volley and thump to win the fight against Shloom and defeat God at Sports. Skip all the cutscenes here, teleport back to this zip station now that we can again, head in here and heal. It takes like a second, unless you're like me and skip the cutscene because you're used to playing Chicory. Up here, head right into the Crown Series, head up to this desk, and you're gonna just go to Lunchbox and, not Lunchbox, sorry, Electrolytes, and hit left. Buy as many as we can. Right now it's 30. That'll be our only healing item we need because it doesn't require a beastie to be wiped to use it. And after that, just head over, talk to Herbert. We get everything and head into the service elevator and get started on the Crown Series. Here's a great place for safety saves. Celia is going to be interesting as this fight is likely going to change. This Grisada is actually Elena's. So it is going to be replaced by Celia's Bandicraft at some point in the near future. This first strategy on the first point, judging by Toadstool's moveset, should still work. What we're going to do is we're going to launch into Moxie here. It'll be Morel in the future. Even if Morel has Demanding Set, what'll probably happen is like Toadstool will come forward and Castle Elite will get attacked. So we're going to shield Castle Elite, and Castle Elite will always survive here. Here we're seeing a Raw Fury from, obviously, Moxie, who has an ability that shifts Castle Elite backward. That won't happen once we have, you know, our proper team here. But either way, we're going to volley, refresh, and thump into this slot, and by then, Bandicraft's body defense is not all that powerful, and that should get the KO. If that isn't the case, please yell at me in the comments if I have not already pinned a comment explaining how to win this fight. So once Moxie is knocked out, we can knock out both of the ones in the back here with launch into that slot. And the rest of this fight is trivial, just don't hit Toadstool. Yeah, there's a chance there's some weirder stuff that happens with Bandicraft attacking, but either way, here we are. now is the most important part. Do not forget to replace shield on Surgus with provoke. After that, you know, just use some electrolytes, heal up Castle Elite. You can click twice really quick, it's nice. And we're heading on to Riven. Riven is the least consistent fight in the Crown series because Golem has a move called Frazzle here, which makes us stressed. This is very annoying. Our combo can heal stress, but we honestly kind of don't want it to. It doesn't really matter either way. We attack Grendel here. Castle Elite is in the front row, and so we'll take slightly more damage than Surgus will in the back. So we shield Castle Elite first. Castle Elite, of course, won't be knocked out, but will be, like, vulnerable to Nettle from Golem and Baz if we let them take more damage there, so we don't want that to happen. Here, before you volley, you're going to want to provoke Golem so that Golem can't block. Volley, and then since Grendel has the study ability, it'll actually be very difficult to knock out Grendel with Thump. Especially after Golem blocks you if you volley Thump. So now Surgus is going to bring the heat into Grendel, and that will get the knockout because Grendel, very thankfully for us, has very bad spirit defense. Surgus will level up here, no big deal. Either way, now we're going to launch, or actually, let's pretend here that Castle Elite got frazzled and free ball into this slot. What we see here is we see Baz. Here, since we're both in the back row, Surgus is actually going to take more damage, and neither of these can knock out Castle Elite. So we are actually going to... we're going to see Nettle into possibly Surgus, but either way, they can't actually, I believe, get a KO this turn. Because Baz can't do enough with Spitball to kill us with 2 Nettles here. So we can actually, what's going to happen is Surgus is going to get attacked, and we're going to move Castle Elite forward. So what this will do is Tired will now have worn off. Surgus is still angry, that doesn't matter. We're gonna volley, we're gonna thump into Golem here, as Golem will probably attempt to block us here, or move to the back row. Oh, we actually see Baz hit there, so that's a little bit of an irritating one. In that case, now that Castle Elite's in the front, we're gonna want to shield. But either way, as long as we don't let Grendel come back in and take a hit, it's important. So now, since we've had a little bit of a weird one and Golem didn't go down there, we can actually knock out Golem here because Baz is going to swap out, and then we can launch into Bilba in the back. If all things go better, it should be pretty self-explanatory what to do. If you knock out Baz, like if you actually use Thump there, typically you'll have Baz knocked out. So you'll just win the point when Bilba comes in because Grendel here won't have recovered. But either way, in this situation where I messed something up, we're just going to be able to thump into Golem as Grendel tags back in. And then launch into the bottom slot here, which will be Bilba probably, and we knock them out. So that's Riven. You should always be able to win this without a mistake. Obviously, I made a mistake there and still won. All it takes is some heads-up play. If you ever mess up and don't go according to the script, just, like, make sure you're doing what's right and pay attention to how much damage Riven can do with both Nettle and an attack. Specifically 2 Nettles. Because she will do that. That is most of her strategy. Either way, that's Riven. I'm going to take a sip of water. Again, now we are going to head back into Surgus's moveset, and we need shield here. I have won this fight without shield. It was very difficult. If you watch my personal best, that's probably going to be uploaded around the same time as this video. I do win the Marlin fight without shield by doing a lot of the same stuff I did against Shloom by basically moving Castle Elite in front of Surgus on turns where Surgus can't shield, and then moving Castle Elite back over to the empty lane. It was very close. I don't recommend doing it that way. Just put shield back on and you'll have a much easier and faster time. Again, make sure you heal. And we're gonna head on to Marlin. Marlin is, I believe, an entirely consistent fight. I at least have not, since I routed this earlier today, run into any issues after running it like 5 or so times. We launch into the Ruby slot here, which Bluey will come in on. Shield Circus. Oh, incidentally, have I mentioned we don't need the combo move at all during this Crown Series? Here, Circus is in front, or Castleta's already in front, so we can just volley and then thump into the Bluey slot. Basically, we don't need to hit Noire at all. We're just gonna hit this slot a whole bunch. Now we're basically gonna see what happens is Noire is going to try and attack Circus every turn because that is the most damage the AI can do. So now we're gonna put Castleta over here. Volley, refresh, very important refresh. We do need all the health we can get in this fight. Again, hit in this slot. Goldie will come in pretty consistently, take 96 damage. Noire is now going to thump into the empty lane because it sees that doing more damage than launch from Goldie. And we're just going to move Castleta back over. Now just volley, refresh. Goldie is going to use Inspiring Defense here, so now we are actually going to attack Noire. What happens here is the AI, I believe, sees the KO on Castleta, but there isn't actually... Oh, there is a KO with Noire on Circus, so Circus has the higher HP, so we're just going to shield Circus here. Especially because Dig lets them become jazzed. Volley in, thump into either of these two honestly works. I go for Noire. Oh yeah, right, that one doesn't work because Ruby will come in. So you do actually need to hit Noire there as Goldie swaps out. Pardon my confusion for a second, but now everyone in the back dies to launch because no one's wet. And that is Marlin. That fight goes, I believe, the same way every time, and Castleta now is on 0 HP, which is why it was very important to have shield on Circus. Alright. We now got a checkpoint, so if you ever lose past here, you will actually reset to here, so don't quit to title even if you're doing an RTA run. You can just restart right from here. Again, use some electrolytes. And we're gonna head right in. This is another fight with somewhat of a deviation. Skip the cutscene there. We are going to start by launching into Danny because Danny has Watchtower, so there's no point into launching into Carlos. Circus will get attacked first because Carlos has a very powerful rocket coming. Circus gets blocked here. Depending on whether Circus or Castleta gets blocked first, you're going to have a slightly different deviation, but either way, this offense's turn is exactly the same. We are now going to thump into Carlos, and Castleta will be blocked. So Carlos won't actually go down, but that's what we want. We are now going to see another rocket into Circus, so we move Castleta to the side. We see a couple marks there. So there are two options here. Either Danny will be in the back already weakened, or Lewis will have swapped in for Danny. In the case where Lewis is in, we are simply going to volley, refresh, and thump into Carlos. Instead, since Danny is in, we are going to volley, refresh, thump into Danny. Obviously, you cannot deal much damage to Lewis, so we never want to do that. Carlos up front here is going to swap into Lewis. So we can't knock out Lewis. If you have Lewis in the back already, Carlos will swap into Fernando, who we will be able to knock out in the front row. But either way, here Danny is in the back, so we knock out Danny. And now, the moment of truth for all of that training we did. We are going to deal 101 damage. Or, wait. Right, yes, there's a little bit more to this one. We do launch into Fernando there. We are now going to shield Castleta. I did forget there was a little more to this version of the fight. Volley, refresh, and thump into Fernando, knocking him out despite the fact that he goes to the back. And again, now is the moment of truth. It would be a turn earlier if we had the other pattern. We are just able to knock out Max the Zephyr here. And that is why we need all 30 of the strength tokens. Skip the cutscenes before Barnes starts swearing at you, and definitely heal before Gene. Who would ever forget to do that? Definitely not me. I forgot to heal on Gene once. It was funny. I somehow won. But either way, Boop's still going my oof. Very true, Karma. Here's Gene. Gene's gonna be interesting. Foucault here has shield, so we are actually going to take on Fanon first. What we are actually going to do here is we are always going to see a rainbow from Foucault. So we are going to move Castle to the back, as Fanon's going to come to the front row. And now we are going to move Sergus to the front row. We are always going to see Fanon blocking Castle here, because it thinks that's what's going to happen, and that will allow Foucault to survive whatever hit is coming. So we just bring the heat into Fanon and knock them out instead. Very beautiful turn. Once again, Foucault can shield, so we are actually going to launch into here, which will be Beauvoir. Castle now obviously is on very low HP, so we're shielding. Foucault, for whatever reason, move us up to the front row here, despite only having a rainbow. Either way, volley, refresh, very important you refresh there, and thump into Beauvoir. Foucault will always shield there. And then, since Foucault is now angry, we launch into Foucault and beat Gene with ease. Obviously, a little bit of weird strategy that Gene wasn't exactly expecting, but that's a win. We get automatically healed here. Try not to talk to Riley there, but we're on the final match now. Skip all of those cutscenes and that one. You're gonna launch into Duke here, as that means that Styles can get the most damage, answer the phone call from Marlon, and skip the cutscene. And you're gonna want to move Sergus to the front, and Styles will now immediately knock out your Sergus, and you can just keep defending and lose the fight. Obviously, once you've lost 2 points, there will be another phone call, and then you're just gonna sort of keep doing this, skipping all the cutscenes, ending your defense, letting yourself lose points. The last hype you're gonna see before the final point is a 998 for when Sun Tzu comes out. Don't bother learning Contest or Bigger Beam here. It's always funny that we learn those right at the end, because Bigger Beam would be a ridiculous move for the rest of the Ground series, but we don't quite learn it early enough. Try not to talk to Marlon there. Obviously, you don't lose much time, but either way, we're just gonna head straight out. Don't need to talk to anyone in there. Talk to Riley and say time to go, and your time will be on the top left. That was a 102 because I was explaining everything, so obviously quite slow. But that was 80%. That is the current Kichik route as of about 13 days of the game's release, maybe 12. And it should have potential for at least like a 42-minute time, if not a 41. There's a chance even, since my menuing is often quite slow, that it could do a 40 or even a sub 40. Not sure yet. Really not sure about sub 40. That would be pushing it maybe a little bit, but we will simply have to wait and see and grind the run a whole bunch. So yeah, if you have any questions, ask them in the comments. Join the Beastieball speedrunning server, which I will link in the description of the video. Yeah, hope you enjoy running your Kichik Any %.